did the same thing last week. I hit the wrong fucking button. I showed my screen. God damn it. All right. Every fucking week I do this. All right. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 443 of the DrunkNerds podcast. I'm your host, as always. I'm Tyler, and joining me with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Skyward Sword. That's what's up.
It's a
But
penis joke. He's talking about his penis.
yeah, man, it's been going pretty good for me this week. It's been one of those slower type of work weeks where it's like things just methodically and like brutally like just like drift a little bit, and it's like you're trying to do whatever it is to make the time go by faster. But at the very least, though, I didn't invest inside of one game. No, I invested inside of two new games this past week. Now, last week I had earned a bunch of extra tip money and stuff for my job, and I basically went through and I got a game and I bought I bought Demon Souls on the PS5. So that is definitely something that I'm going to be chipping away at. But the other thing that I ended up purchasing was, well, like I just mentioned before, I got Skyward Sword HD Remaster and stuff for Switch. Obviously, both polar opposite type of games. But with Tyler here holding up the amiibo, mine should be coming in tomorrow, hopefully by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, this week has been more or less me playing catch up with Destiny 2 with a lot of the whole freaking Solstice gear. I mean, I'm at that point right now with Destiny 2 where it's that point of the season where it's like 30 to 35 days left in the season. I'm this close to completing the Solstice armor. I have to complete either like Wraith missions or something like that or something. Well, I don't understand either or because I didn't really invest a lot inside of Forsaken when that was going through. So I may have to complete that campaign before I actually get those things. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to go through the rest of it right now. I'm kind of burnt with Destiny 2. But yeah, it's trying to finish up random stuff in Destiny 2 on top of like balancing whatever I want, whatever it is at work. But other than that, though, this week's been pretty all right. How about yourself, Tyler?
All right. I was telling you for the show that it's I kind of for the weeks when we get Mondays off.
Yep.
Makes the week a lot easier, a lot more bearable. Um, but I'm doing all right. And it's Saturday night. Good night. Um, I had dinner at my parents' house. That was always nice. My dad's good at grilling, so I always enjoy that. Uh, yeah, I haven't. I invested in a game. It's an older game. It's my second time buying this game. I'm trying
Okay.
again, Gables. Trying again.
I know.
After watching Loki, I didn't buy Skyward Sword. I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing it. After watching the Disney Plus show Loki MCU and then Black Widow last week, I've just been in like a Marvel mood. And
Uh,
GameFly had like a GameFly sale, so they had Marvel's Avenger for $10. So I bought it. I'm a sucker. I bought into it. I mean, it's $10, whatever. Even if I play
okay,
it for
okay,
a couple
okay.
hours, it's whatever. It's not a big deal. I'll turn around and trade it in a GameStop for 5. Um, but yeah, no. Other than that, dude, okay. I did spend a bunch of money on Zelda this week. I bought 3 fucking goddamn amiibos and the fucking 3 of the fucking Loftwing ones here. I gotta give Justin his tomorrow. And then I got the Joy Cons, the Hyrule Warrior or the Hyrule Warrior, Hyrule Joy Cons. I was like, I'm just gonna take these. I don't need these fucking things. They're $80. I don't really need them. And then I got home, except my mail goes to my parents' house, and not sure why that was important to the story, but I'm like I went and got it today. I was like I was talking to my mom like I'm just gonna take these fucking things back. I don't need them. Like it's way I could buy a fucking game and a half with this, or one PlayStation game. And I was just like fuck it. Then I got home. Then I was just like oh man, I look because I have the I know Gables you can see it in mine in our
Oh,
webcam, but on the stream it's cut off. I have like the Breath of the Wild like light for my Switch dock, and it
yep.
if you see it Gables in the thing, it's like changing colors. I know it's not
Oh
really
yeah.
helpful for audio or visual listeners for this reference, but it's like $15 on Amazon if you guys want it. But I'm like, that's gonna look really cool with my fucking Zelda light that I have for my dock with my Joy Cons. And I was like, fuck. So I took them out of the box. Now they're on there, so I got those now. So I spent more on Skyward Sword. I spent like $70 on Skyward Sword, and I'm not even gonna buy the goddamn game. So that's where I'm at with that fucking thing. Jesus Christ. I see that. I bitch about Nintendo's prices than I do this. So that's where I'm at with in the world. But no, I'm doing all right. You know, it's like I said, it's been nice to have Monday off. But I've been watching I was telling you for the show. I'm kind of like waiting. I didn't want to like jump into anything this week because of there's a couple games coming out next week I want to play. We were talking about our
Yeah.
most anticipated last week. I mentioned Last Stop is a game super looking forward to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It possibly rumored, leaked, whatever that it's coming to Game Pass, which I hope so. I mean, otherwise I'm gonna. It's $25. Either well, regardless, I'm buying it. I'm playing it on Thursday when it comes out. Is it Thursday? Thursday, yes. When it comes out, but obviously, hopefully it's Game Pass. But if not, I'll just buy it. But I'm looking forward to that. And then Death's Door that's coming to Xbox and PC on I think Tuesday for that. So um, I didn't really want to jump into too much with those coming out. And then in a couple weeks, it's gonna be a bit of an onslaught here for me in August. So I didn't want to. I was like going through Game Pass and nothing was really tickling my fancy, and I was just like, a couple things. Like I started up like Dishonored 2, and I was like, I'm not gonna beat this fucking thing before these things. Like I want to play. I've been wanting to play the game forever, and I was like, it's one of those things like I've never bought it, but it's like, man, I love Dishonored 1, and it just came out in 2017, like, and that was just an onslaught of a fucking year. I remember like buying games in March, but like day one, but couldn't get around to play them. I was so backlogged until like
Yeah.
July, so I just never got around to it. It's just one of those games that kind of just got lost in that, and then and that old game was old kind of thing, and now I it's on Game Pass, so I'm like, oh, I'll download it, and I started playing it. I got like an hour into it, and I was like, I'm no, I'm it's if I start playing this now, I'm gonna get like halfway through it, and then this other shit I want to play is gonna come out, and I'm never gonna finish it. So I want to give it its proper due. So I'm gonna get around to
Makes
I want to get
sense.
back to that. But then I got Marvel's Avengers, but I'm not like obviously it's not a big investment, so I'm not like worried about getting into it right away. So instead I just watched like I finally like watched Cobra Kai. So I was telling you for the show like within like basically every day from like Sunday night to like literally like an hour before I go to bed Sunday night to every day after work. From the moment I go home from work to the time I went to bed, I did nothing but watch Cobra Kai. So like I'm down to like the last 3 episodes, and like I just don't want to watch anymore because I've only got 3 episodes left, and I don't want the show to be over. Even though there's new season coming in December, I just want to fucking wait. But I also it just I can't. It's so good. I don't want to not watch it. So I'm in that in between phase where it's that feeling when like you beat like a really good game or you finish a really good show, and it's like that moment that like hour or so where like nothing in life matters anymore. Where it's like,
Mm.
what's the point of living anymore? It's like you get that like emptiness feeling. Like I invested all this time into this show or this fucking game over the last whatever weeks, and now it's over, and there's nothingness left. Um, so I don't want that feeling. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Until I have something else that I can fill that hole. I'm just all about filling holes. My holes in particular. Um, Gables, don't give me that fucking look. I saw that look on your face. You're like, God damn it, Tyler. Why do I do the show with you? 8 years. And he's a fucking
Uh,
idiot. That's what you think when I talk like this. I know. I get it. I get it. I know what I'm saying. It that like
hey
I
man, I know
think
you're prone to go down your rabbit
yeah
hole
I'm
and stuff
yeah.
like that. You know.
Speaking of
I
holes,
mean,
rabbit
this is
holes.
nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you about my favorite holes on a rabbit, and now you're bringing it up on the show. It's a lot. No. Um, but yeah, I mean, so Gables, I know you're a big Nintendo fan,
Yeah.
huge Nintendo fan. What if I told you that there's a thing you can buy that would be the best place to play every Nintendo game ever on one
Okay.
device? How would you feel about that?
Hmm.
Would you?
Honestly, would feel pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah.
it's like all in one. Well, okay, so it's like every Nintendo game. You say like one device.
Yes. How would you? Is that something that would intrigue you?
Yeah, that would.
Good. Well, you're in luck, buddy, because Steam just came out with the Steam Deck. So now we have the new best place to play Nintendo games.
Oh.
We have the Valve Steam Deck, guys. We got there. We got there. So I'm trying to pull it up on my phone here because like I don't want to do it.
Jesus Christ.
I don't want to. I'll put up the article here on my phone because I don't want to stress my computer out anymore, and it already is. Um, So Valve now announced the Steam Deck, which was funny because it was like 2 hours before the pre-order went up for the SWOLED that we got that this was announced. So it kind of got rumored and it got leaked a while back. Like there was a thing called Steam Pal that was like that was data mined out of Steam, um, like 3 or 4 months ago. And then Gabe Newell was talking about in an interview about he's like, what's your plan with like console gaming or something like that? And he's like, oh, you'll see before the end of the year. And that was kind of just like kind of lit the fire a little bit more on this whole handheld Steam device. Um, so it's officially announced. It looks very much like a Switch. It kind of looks a little bigger. It's a 7-inch screen. Definitely is bigger because it's a 7-inch screen, same as the SWOLED. It's got like it's got like two track pads in the bottom. It's got like it's basically just mocking the Xbox, not mocking, but it looks just like kind of the Xbox buttons, the XYBA.
Yeah, yeah.
Two analog sticks. It's funny. So it's got the XYBA of an Xbox, but then it has the R1 and R2 and L1 and L2 of a PlayStation thing. So it's all over the place. It looks like a Switch, but it has PlayStation and Xbox buttons. And then it has 4 buttons on the back. So you can, if you want to do a reach around on your Steam Deck, you can. So it's going to begin shipping in December. The reservations went up for it yesterday,
Wow.
which is cool. Like they kind of like set up. You only have to put $5 down. You can only do it through Steam through the Steam,
Oh,
and
wow.
you had to have an account that you have made a purchase on before June 30th. Kind of a way to
Oh,
get
interesting.
around bots, stuff like that.
And
Obviously,
scalpers, yes.
yeah, scalpers, shit like that. Obviously, it's a lot easier for Steam where this is a digital storefront, and I mean, because people were talking about this is the way PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo should be doing, but problem is they are physical console games, so you can't just if you could like we've seen Xbox, PlayStation do like sell the consoles through the Microsoft Store or through PlayStation Store, but you're just gonna piss off Target, Walmart, Best Buy, and then they won't sell your games. Steam doesn't have that problem. It's all digital, so they don't give a fuck about Walmart and Best Buy and shit like that. So there's 3 different versions. One's gonna be 400, the other one's gonna be 530, and the other one's gonna be 650. Each model does have some improvements, like the $400 one. Um, I mean, like with the insides of it, I don't really feel. I'm not gonna act like I understand it. We are not PC gamers, but
The most important part about it is like there's different types of sizes in these individual models. A lot of them
yeah,
being like solid state drives. I mean, there's like a 200 something like solid state drive that's in one of the
yep,
models. I forget
256
which
is for
one.
the $400 one is just it's a 64 gigabyte, not solid state, but
Yep.
it's got internal 64 gigabytes internal storage. The top two ones do have a solid state drive, which is obviously better for be better for like downloading things fast more quickly.
Yes.
And installing things. The $530 one has a 256 gigabyte internal storage, and the 650 has 512. They do support micro SD cards, which is just like the Nintendo Switch does, which those are fairly cheap for the most part. Like you can get like, I mean, obviously it's gonna be different because these things are gonna play like fucking Star Wars Fallen Order, where I think the biggest fucking game you're gonna have on a Switch, um, is I know like some of the like third party stuff will be like 20 gigs, but then they have like 20 30 gigs, but like that's
Right. Right.
where like some of the games they talk about won't work on this thing, like Apex Legends, Overwatch, stuff like that. It's more of an issue where like the anti-cheating device that they use in those. Like there's some other ones they announced too. It's mostly like online shooters that aren't going to work right away. They're working on getting the workaround for that. It's just more so because like what the games use for anti-cheating that they have to like get this set up. So
Yeah.
eventually they will have that. The 7-inch screen, like I said, it'll do 720p. Um, like I said, it does have gyroscope motion, which I didn't realize. Um, the 2 solo triggers, blah blah blah, built-in microphone. It does have Bluetooth, so if you want to do like AirPods, you can do that, or if you want to, you can use any Bluetooth, any controller will work for this thing. Um, there's eventually gonna be a dock for it that they're working on making. It's not gonna be ready until next year, so that way you can plug it into like a PC or you can plug it into your TV. But there are docks you can buy. Like I was reading on like you can buy like a good quality dock that like it's basically like a USB-C kind of plug-in that will plug into your TV or to your computer, and they're like $30.
Right.
So it's not a bit it's not like the Nintendo docks are like I think $80 or $90. I think the battery life they said 2 to 8 hours depending on what you're playing and what settings they are. They were saying that they were like, and the IGN had like the first report on this. They were saying that they played Star Wars Fallen Order on the high settings, so obviously not max settings, but high settings.
Right, right.
Not doing 4K. I doubt they're doing 60 frames per second. But they did say that they played Portal 2 for about 4 hours on a single battery life. Or no, I'm sorry. You can play Portal 2 for 4 hours on this thing. If you limit to 30 frames per second, you can get 5 to 6 hours. So I mean, this is not gonna be much like the Switch. You're not if this is something you're really interested in, you are not looking for like the super high powered thing. This is more so about playing more things on the go, and just I mean honestly, I think this is like really cool for the aspect of like if you want to be in the Steam world, there's a lot of games, not Steam World as in like Steam World Dig, but like in the world of Steam, um, this is like a good place to go for like people that want to get into that world because there's a lot of games that just never come to consoles. Or a lot the popular thing people bring up is like Hades came out in early access over a year ago
Yeah.
and came out 1.0 came out months before it came to the Switch, which was the first console it's been on. It's still currently the only console it's on. So it's like there's a lot of games that never come to the consoles or come and they don't run as well or blah blah blah. So and not most of these consoles don't really do early access, so a lot more options for that. But I mean, it's a good cheap way to get in without buying like a $2,000 PC, or you don't have to spend all this money or worry about like
Right.
down like updating your drivers and shit like that. It's just like it's all the joys of a console thing, but for Steam. And also it's open, so you can download Epic Game Store. You can download like Blizzard or was it Blizz.net or whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean this is a totally open device where you can do anything basically with what you want. What was your thoughts when you heard about this thing?
To be perfectly honest with you, I was kind of interested in seeing what route they would go with this whole like Steam Dock thing. I took one look at it. I looked at the control scheme. I'm like, what the hell's this? Looks pretty weird. You know, the control
Yeah,
sticks are like
it's
near the
very
top of
far
the
apart. Yeah,
device. It's it's like the top of the device, and it's like you have the buttons that are like pretty close together in regards to the control sticks and everything else.
better D-pad than
At
the Switch though.
first, well, yeah, that's very true. I mean, I've heard like random things in regards to the battery life and stuff. I know if you want to get like a game like at about reasonable settings or something like that, I mean, the max you could probably get is like maybe 2 hours for some settings for some of these games.
Yeah.
So it's immediately as I'm reading that, learning about that, and on top of that, seeing the seeing this hefty like device in and of itself, I'm immediately reminded about the Game Gear, in regards to like how large that thing was. I mean, granted, yeah, it's a different type of philosophy and stuff. I mean, Sega had that handheld back then and stuff with its own set core of games. It's nothing like what Steam Dock is doing right here, where they have already established these games from different publishers and stuff, going through like their Steam service and stuff. And this is pretty much all digital in that regards, with certain upgradable things you can do, like say storage and this and that. But I thought it was fairly interesting. I'm not sure like how like popular this thing will be maybe like from a year from now. I mean, I do like the idea that Valve is delving into this whole like portable space, because it's fascinating to have like a PC like device, a PC centric device, really, that's pretty much like a handheld, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's the whole concept of it. It's having like a portable. It's pretty much have like a portable PC on the go, right? So that way, it's like you don't have to like uh, log around your laptop or whatever the hell you want to do in order to play things like on the go or wherever. But I think it's a good idea. I think it's definitely an interesting concept, and I really want this type of thing to succeed, since I do want to have that type of future and stuff. Where if I have games on Steam, if I want to play them, say like on a handheld or this or that, like without hardly any issues in terms of streaming or in terms of like just downloading the game and just doing it on the go. I mean, I want that to happen, but I feel like this is a good solid step forward for Valve for doing that. But as far as like how successful it's going to be with this, I mean, I honestly feel like that there will be some success to it, and I definitely see like future remodels happening with this device, because even when Valve like a couple of years back released like a certain like type of Steam machine in that regards, their own specific types of like PCs, I think it was at that point, where it's that they had their own different types of models and this and that. There really wasn't a concrete skew of what they were going through. I mean, they had some bit of success, but it really didn't live up to the standard that they were anticipating, especially with terms of sales, I thought.
Yeah.
But with this one, yeah, this does make sense. You're going after the market and stuff that is interested in like playing their PC games like pretty much on the go and not just like a one concrete place. And you know what? I feel like this is going to be a good first step for Valve.
Yeah.
What were you thinking, Tyler?
I was kind of taken back because to be honest, this is not for us. We are not in the market for this thing. We are console
No.
gamers. We are primarily um, PlayStation, Nintendo people. Obviously, we're big Game Pass people too as well. But like PC gaming is not in our spectrum. We dabble every now and again. Like we played Among Us last year. We played a
Yeah.
handful of games like That Dragon Cancer was a game I jumped in on Steam and played a while back. That was like my first, excuse me, game that I've ever played on sat down with the intention to play through and beat. But like as far as like I've had a Steam account forever. I have games on it. I bought games on it. Like I remember like trying to play like Witcher 1 on it. I put like 3 hours into it, but on an old like cheap laptop that I had I thought the thing was gonna blow up while I was doing it. But at first I was like I don't really like I said, not in the market. This is not for us. But I was like, I don't really fully understand this. Like, so I asked some people. I was kind of asking around. I asked like, I put it in our Talk Ship, Facebook group, because I know there's a lot of Steam people on there, and I kind of wanted to see what their
Yeah.
initial reaction was. And like, a lot of people were like overly positive about this. Like, they're primarily PC gamers, um, and like they were like, I love this. Like, here's why. And I'm like, and I wasn't trying to be like negative. I'm like, I was throwing out like, what about the battery life? What about the internal on this, how it's gonna run? And they're like, no, this is gonna be great for like, playing a lot of the indie games. Like people were talking like, I've bought all these like humble bundles, or there's like, people always talk about the Steam sale. They buy all these games for dirt cheap, but they never play them.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So it's like, oh, I can finally play these games, or like some, like it's just I can sit on the couch and plays. I'm not like stuck on my computer or whatever. Um, yeah. So I think this thing is I don't. This is not the Switch. This is not going to be the
No.
PlayStation. Like to that, like there are way more Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. Those words mean a lot more than Steam does to the general public. Obviously, for us, if you're listening to this or watching this, you know what Steam is. Like if you were watching this or not, you know what those are. But a good chunk of
Yes.
people don't really know what those things are. So I, I don't think I don't at least for right now. I don't think this. Yeah, this is not going to be the big. This is not going to be like selling 10 million units. This won't be like taking over anything anytime soon. But I mean, you can especially look at the way. I mean, and I think Steam knows that. You can look by the way they're marketing this right now. It's like with reservations and pre-orders, where it's active users on Steam that have to use like that are the ones that can reserve this. So that tells you right now. It's awesome because it's not taking care of for the most part. Obviously, you can't 100% foolproof, but taking care of scalpers and bots.
Right.
But also you're rewarding your. I mean, obviously, all you had to do was if you would have bought like I could have reserved one of these things if I wanted to, because I bought in a game, and before June 30th. But I mean, I think like I said, it makes it more difficult, and you're kind of like it's more so for the people that are active users and probably like more interested in these things than Joe Schmo out there walking by and seeing a Switch at the store. But I think the big selling point for this thing right now is get this thing out in the wild, have people see it, and that's where I think people are like, like I don't. We talk about how crazy the Switch is and how well it sold, but I think once it got out there and in the wild and people saw this thing, it's like they're like, oh, here's like see how the Switch works. You see, if people see it in the world in the wild, that's when like it really took off. Like when you're able to see these things, like that's when it becomes like where I think the Switch took over more and more. Where it's like it's super easy, it's a lot cheaper than the other shit. And there's all these really great fun party games on here, and it's blown up obviously even more. Um, so I don't think I'm not trying to say this is going to be will this thing come anywhere close to like the Switch or PS5 or Xbox Series. I highly doubt it. But I think if this thing sold 10, 15 million, they fucking be super ecstatic. And I imagine like, and that was my first thought was like when you were kind of mentioning like the Steam machine, the Steam boxes, and like the Steam
Yes.
controller. It's like these things, and that was like, I'm like, man, these things came out and they just died, but they were also just bad and confusing. Like I remember like when we first started this podcast, we were I think it was right around the time, not too long after we started this podcast, like these things, the Steam machines, Steam boxes, whatever the fuck they were called, were coming out. And I was like, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck this means. Like I am a gamer and I'm super confused by what the fuck this thing is. Like I couldn't
Yeah, really.
imagine, like I said, Joe Schmo wanted to just, oh, okay, I could buy this and play, any game I want from my, I could buy any game I want on Steam and plug it on my TV. But like I said, it was super confusing. It makes sense. And like I was doing multiple Google searches, couldn't figure this fucking thing out. Couldn't imagine someone that's like semi interested in this thing. After one or two Google searches in 30 seconds, you're gonna give up. You can go back to watching porn, any good man would. Yeah, I'm incredibly excited for this. I'm not, like I said, I'm not buying this thing. This is not for me whatsoever. It's cool like to hear like the originally the base one was gonna be $500. And that was kind of like what they were telling like people like developers like that. And then when the swole, because they were kind of like what sounds like kind of like behind the scenes rumor stuff was that they were assuming that the Switch Pro was going to be announced for 400 and they would come out for 500 because this thing is going to be, it's like the talk is like the inners are kind of, it's more powerful than a PS4 Pro but not as powerful as it's more powerful than a PS4 base one but less powerful than a Pro. So it's gonna be more powerful. It's gonna be way more open. It's not locked down anything. So it's gonna be a little more expensive. And then when the Swole that happened and it was 350, they're like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna come out for 400. So they're being super competitive with the price, which is, even though I
Right.
mean, there's a $650 version out there, but just to get in the door, it's $400, which is, yeah, it's more than a Series S, but it's less than a Series X, and it's the same price as the digital PS5, and it's $50 more than the Switch. So I mean, it's a good argument. And we talked about how like the Vita survived for years because of indie games, and then the Switch came out and killed it because that was the place to go to play indie games. And it's like
Yep.
really what we see a lot of times on like these indie games are doing so great on Switch, um, and even like the Vita before that, where these games have been on Steam for a while and they're just now coming over later. So now I think we could start seeing where, I'm not saying this is not a Switch killer or whatever, but I think that's where it might. I don't think it's going to take sales away from Nintendo as a console, but I think our like first party stuff, obviously first party stuff, but like the bigger games stuff like that. But I think where you might see effect, it might be small. I don't think it's going to be like, it's not going to. I don't think it's going to like, Nintendo's not going to be scared by this. I think they might kind of look at it sideways a little bit and like acknowledge it, but I think where like you could see an effect on Nintendo is when you start seeing like those indie games that were selling like hotcakes on the Switch. I mean, I think they'll still be there, but people are like, well, it's gonna, well, if I got Steam, like I am a primarily Steam user, but I buy indie games on the Switch because I could take it anywhere. It's like, well, now I got the Steam Deck, I could just fucking buy it here, or I can like, I have all these games on Steam that I already bought, but I bought them again on Switch because I could take it anywhere. Well, fuck, now I got the Steam Deck. So I think that's where like you can see like a little bit of an effect where like the Nintendo's will like kind of like be, like I said, it's not going to scare them. It's not going to kill the Switch. Obviously, I think Nintendo will be just fine. But I think they will acknowledge it and might light a little bit of a fire under their ass. Because what's the saying? Like competitiveness, uh, what brings the best out. I'm fucking up the saying, but it's like basically
Well, when
competition brings out
yeah,
the
basically,
best.
yeah, exactly the point.
Maybe not always the best, but it's gonna make people do some shit. And like we've seen Nintendo, we've seen PlayStation, we've seen all these these console makers out about before. Like they do something, if it fucks up, they go a little cocky. They feel like they don't have any real competition. They go out cocky and they do whatever they want. We just saw Nintendo do a backdoor price increase on the Switch, which is something we've never seen before ever. Um, and it's like now this thing comes out, and it's like okay, so there's a little bit of competition in the handheld market for the first time since maybe like year two of the Vita, where that thing was basically okay. The Vita is it's gonna be there, but it's not competition. It's just something that will exist. But we got the 3DS. It's gonna fucking destroy that thing. It's not really competition, but it's like in wrestling terms, it's like TNA's there, but WWE's like after like 2 years of TNA being a wrestling company, it's like oh okay, you guys don't actually matter. We have zero worries for you. No one's leaving us to go to you, or no one stops watching us to watch you instead. Like I think these things can both live in the same market. And like I said, some of these people that I was talking to and just kind of reading online, it's like these people have Switches. They're also buying the Steam Deck, which I think is interesting as well. So yeah, like I said, I'm super pumped for this for a lot of reasons. I think this is great for the gaming market. I think this is great for Nintendo, where like I said, like they've always lived in their own world. They don't have like a lot of competition. But I feel like if Steam or Valve comes out with this and they really kind of put effort into this and push it, and this thing takes off and does well with the hardcore, that's only gonna be better for them to get more, maybe some more casual people and go on, so on and so forth. And maybe that's one, like I just want to see like Nintendo, like, and even the console makers, but mostly like I think for like this is kind of a, it's not a strike at Nintendo, but I think you can look at it like that, where it's like this is going to affect them more than anybody. And I just want
Yes.
to, like, I don't want to see Nintendo taken down a notch. I don't want to see Nintendo go out of business. But, I want to see them face some real serious competition in the handheld market for the first time in any serious standpoint since the Game Gear. Like, we haven't seen any real serious competition from them in 25 years. And I think that'd be awesome, just kind of see like a serious player out there and have that handheld market. And I mean, Nintendo's always going to outsell them because they got the first party games. But yeah, I think I'm pumped for this. I love this. Anything you want to say before we move on for that one?
No, I pretty much said my piece on that one.
Okay. All right. Give me 2 seconds here. I am switching over my phone here. It's a little slower than the rest of it. Okay. So we talked about May NPDs last week because it totally got buried during E3. So we talked about a month late. So now we have the June NPDs, which this is kind of interesting because like we are seeing, like we talked about, like we are now like solely in like that period where like we are comparing to 2020, where now we are
Yep.
like full lockdown, like for the most part, full lockdown in pandemic mode. Um, and video games were doing insane, like best gaming ever, like sales ever by a wide margin. Like Switches were selling out, PS4s were
Yes.
selling out, everything was selling out. Animal Crossing was selling like 16. There's more Animal Crossing copies sold than Big Macs. Um, so it's kind of interesting. Now there was actually a 5% increase year over year compared to June 2020. To be fair, though, a lot of that had to do with hardware. So that was console
Oh, okay.
sales. So we have the new consoles out, but I mean, like I said, even like we were just talking about, like all the consoles were selling out last year. So, but it's still impressive. I think there was something else I wanted to talk about. Yeah, 5% year over year. I can't. I'll find it here as I'm reading through the article. But yeah, so it was like It was $4.9 billion in sales overall in video games. I guess there was a huge jump in gaming wheels, for like driving sticks, stuff like that, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if that had to do with like maybe EA or E3 with like the Forza Horizon shit, and like F1 came out I think last month, so maybe that has something to do with it. But they had a giant increase in that. Um, oh yeah, so here's the thing: 15% increase uh, year over year, the first half of 2020, so January through June, um, compared to this year to last year, a 15% increase overall. This year compared to last year, but I mean that was, it was like what, into March before we went into pandemic mode here in the
Mm-hmm.
United States. Moving over into the top 20 here, we do have some new ones here. So this is kind of an interesting one here. Sea of Thieves jumps into the top 20 at the 20 spot.
Hmm.
They did have the big Pirates of the Caribbean uh,
Yeah.
uh, expansion last month. Pokemon Sword and Shield 19, 18 Breath of the Wild 17, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2, that jumped from 51 to 17. But that was we had the Switch version come out last month, I believe, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. Mass Effect Legendary Edition dropped from 2 to 16th compared to last month. Mario 3D World is at 15th. Assassin's Creed Valhalla at 14. Smash Bros. Ultimate 13. Modern Warfare at 12. Modern Warfare 2019, by the way. Animal Crossing Horizon drops out of the top 10 for the first time ever. They went from 9 to 11, so I mean not a big drop. They went only 2 spots, but it's kind of interesting note. Miles Morales Spider-Man still holding on. We jumped from 12 to 9, but still consistently in that top spot or top area. Minecraft as usual, number 8. Mario Kart 8 number 7. Resident Evil Village at number 6. They were number 1 last month. One of the newcomers is Scarlet Nexus at number 5. That came out. It was like, when the fuck did that come out? I think it was
Came
like
out like
late.
it was.
It was like June
Yeah.
20th something. It was late. So
It
that's,
was a late June release.
yeah.
Yes.
So I mean that was like June 25th or something like that. So it was the same day as Mario Kart or Mario Golf.
Yep.
So yeah, that was like late in the month. That's impressive. MLB The Show, sticking at number 4. They were number 3 the previous month. Speaking of Mario Golf, it was number 3, and then Black Ops Cold War number 2, and the number 1 bestseller Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Some interesting notes about Rift Apart is it more than doubled. This is all based off dollars earned, not sales, individual sales of the game. More than doubled the record for Ratchet and Clank series, which the previous one was Ratchet and Clank 2016. To be fair, Rift Apart was a $70 game, whereas Ratchet Clank 2016 was a $40 game. But this shows even like this being a PS5 only game, still doing incredibly well. So that's awesome. But there's another note. Yeah, like so I said, Rift Apart number 7. Are doubled the price. They're double what they earned for the 2016 version. Mario Golf Super Rush is the best-selling Mario Golf ever, or best launch ever for a
That's
based off,
launch. Okay.
yeah, beating the old one, which was Toadstool Tour from Nintendo GameCube, which actually came out in July 2003. It's been a while since I've had to say 2000 something. Yeah, so pretty much all the interesting notes that came out of that. But yeah, I mean, pretty impressive month. Like I said, we saw some newcomers in Ratchet Clank number 1, Mario Golf number 3, Scarlet Nexus number 5. So 3 newcomers, and we got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Switch exclusives in the top 20, or in the top 19 rather. So yeah, I mean we see a lot of the normal ones in there as usual, but I mean yeah, I think a pretty interesting month overall, especially for June, where most years June's kind of a lame duck month, and we've seen 3 pretty big games come out last month. What's your thoughts on it?
I'm highly surprised Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart debuted at number 1. To be perfectly honest with you, but that's more or less because of the whole like aspect of okay, normally would be seeing like games like say like a Call of Duty possibly be like the number 1 seller or MLB The Show, those inside the months of like June leading up to like those type of summer days and stuff. You're gonna be seeing like the same old type of games and stuff, and then like the release of Ratchet and Clank having to be number 1. I mean, I knew it would be like within the top 5 because it's a popular Sony first party game, but it's
Hmm.
like that just comes to show you, despite the price tag of being like $70 over or anything else of that sort and stuff, it was still enough to where it would not only sell well, but actually maintain that number 1 spot. But when it comes to like month overall and stuff like that, I'm going to be interested in seeing like how long it stays in that top 5 in regards to the whole this month's like
Hmm.
NPDs for July. But I'm happy that Mario Golf Super Rush sold well. The launch sold well in that regards. Number 3, that's something to scoff at. I mean, for the game in of itself, like I said before, I've played through that game. I thought that this was a good game. It wasn't like say a bad game. I didn't think it was an average game. I thought it was definitely a good game in that regards. There definitely were improvements that needed to be made and stuff, but I'm very happy that this game, that Mario Golf Super Rush, was actually in the top 5. But let's see, Scarlet Nexus. I mean, that's a game like you were saying before. It was launched like nearly like the same day as like Mario Golf Super Rush. That's a surprising one to
Yeah, it
me.
was like
That
June
made it up.
25th or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that surprised me, as well as Sea of Thieves, especially with the whole Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. I mean, we knew that that game, has been around for a long while, and sooner or later they would delve into something in regards to, say, pirate-related stuff. But that Pirates of the Caribbean thing is definitely huge on Microsoft's part to go through and add into Sea of Thieves, because new faces, new people are going to be delving into the game for the first time and stuff just because of Pirates of the Caribbean stuff.
Mm.
And so it's like, okay, have all this and stuff, and it cracks the top 20. I mean, hell,
Yeah,
that's a
especially
big
for
change.
a 3 4 year old game that's on Game Pass.
Yes, exactly, exactly the point. But yeah, the new games, the new blood that's inside there, plus the positioning of Sea of Thieves is pretty much the more or less the more interesting themes in regards to the whole June NPDs.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of the normal players on here. I'm trying to pull it back up on my phone. Here it is. But yeah, like I said, I think though, like I'm not super surprised to see Rift Apart number 1. Honestly, I thought Mario Golf would be 1. But but I'm not surprised if there was if it wasn't gonna be number one, Rift Apart being that in that number one spot. But people have been talking about like we keep seeing like Mario Kart sitting at number seven. It was number seven last month. It's basically
Right.
it's always that range in these kind of months where it's like it's usually in that like 5 to 8 range every fucking month. It's not selling as well like a GTA 5, but it's always that GTA 5 range, where GTA 5 was always between like 3 and 10 every fucking month, and like
Yep.
Mario Kart's taking that spot. But like kind of looking at like Miles Morales, like number one, jumping from 12 to 9, what 7 months in, not 8 months in, like I think, I mean I know it's cross generation, but like we're looking at like Mario Kart 8, that's like the evergreen title where you buy a Switch, you buy Mario Kart, you buy Smash, you buy 3D World, you buy the newest Mario, you buy Smash, you buy Mario Kart. Those are the three things you buy, and all three of those always in the there's always the most recent Mario game, and then there's always Smash and Mario Kart in there. And I think Miles Morales is that evergreen title for PS5. Obviously, not at
Yeah.
the level of a Mario Kart. It's not probably it's nowhere. It's not going to sell anywhere near 30, 40 million copies. Might sell 15 to 20 by the time it's done, which still incredible. But but I think that's like we're looking at where like you buy a PS5, you're buying fucking Miles Morales. You're not buying. I mean, no disrespect, but Returnal came out April 30th. It's not in
Right.
the top 20. Demon
Nope.
Souls came out the same day as Miles Morales. It's not in the top 20. I mean, those are
No.
not bad games. Those are obviously very, very good games. But you look at like I think Miles Morales. It's Spider Man. Yeah, Spider Man 2018 reviewed super well, and it's Miles Morales. And also we had the Miles Morales. Oh, what's the animated movie? What's it called? Um,
Oh, Into the Spider Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse, fantastic movie. So now people
Yes.
know what Miles Morales is. So it's kind of like that. It's got a lot of buzz around it. People love Spider-Man, people love Into the Spider-Verse, and you buy a PS5, and then people love Spider-Man 2018. Bam, here you go. You got a recipe for a fantastic game that's going to sell consistently very, very well. So yeah, I think that's not too big of a surprise. Tony Hawk jumping from 51 to 17. I mean, it's this kind of same thing where we saw like Crash 4 jump from like 80 something to like the
Yep.
15th spot a couple months ago when it finally came to Switch. Like, and that's kind of a big thing that like some of these publishers do, especially EA. Like they've been very good about this. They put a game out, put it on PC, Xbox, PlayStation. 6 months later, put it on Switch. It fucking sells again. Like they are. We've seen publishers do this where people know most likely people will just buy it again on Switch, and that's what happens. Um, so whatever. Yeah. So yeah, pretty good month. It's always exciting to see fresh blood in there. I mean, like we said, like 15 of these 20 spots are the normal shit. But I mean, like I said, it's always kind of cool to see. Even like MLB the Show. Like I was stunned last month. It was 3 last month. I think it was like 2 the month before that. Um, being a Game Pass game on day one, still holding in the top 3, 4 spot for 3 straight months is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, pretty fun month. These are always my favorite things to talk about every month because I think it's just kind of interesting, because it's easy to be in a bubble about the gaming world, about like, oh, like this is whatever, like we see this, we that, but it's kind of interesting because like this is really where the world's at for gaming. So, Gables, before we get into some of the quick hitter stuff, I do want to ask you. We do have the EA Play event on the 22nd, I believe. Um,
Okay.
so I know we talk about every year with like E3 or even like last year when they did the EA Play event when there was no E3. Uh, that they're fairly boring. I mean, there might be one cool thing that gets shown off, but you're gonna see a lot of dev diaries, and we basically already know the format every year of EA Play, where we see a lot of, like I said, dev diaries. There's gonna be FIFA. There's gonna be Madden. They're gonna focus on the big first-person shooter game they got every year coming out.
Yeah.
They're pretty boring and formulaic. We get why they do it because those are the things that make the most money for them, and also gets the stockholders, the shareholders hard. But this one I'm having little different vibes about. Like they did say already, there's gonna be no Bioware news, so we're not gonna hear about Mass Effect or Dragon Age,
Okay.
which is fine because we those games like Mass Effect was shown up at Game Awards. That we know that game is ways away because they're focused on Dragon Age right now.
Yeah.
Dragon Age 4, we've gotten nothing but dev diaries and 2 teaser trailers for in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's still in limbo.
yeah, and then they said no Star Wars news. They said they will have some Star Wars news next year though for us.
Oh, okay.
But so they're setting what they're kind of seeing. But something I meant to talk about a couple weeks ago, but I just forgot to talk about was they've been doing like these like mini events lately, where they did like a EA first person shooter, a little like thing where it's like kind of a deep dive dev diary stuff, kind of the shit you would normally see, but like way more in depth. And they were talking about like kind of dove more into like Battlefield 2042. Earlier, that was a couple weeks ago, and then last week we had a EA Originals thing. There's not really news coming out, but if this is like if you're really interested in hearing more about like the inside of that kind of information, like they talk like a decent amount. It seems like I didn't watch it, but they had like they were talking about It Takes Two and some of the EA
Right.
Originals that come out of it. Then like I said, the first person shooter one talked more about 2042 and kind of the history of their first person shooter games. And then sometime I think this week they're supposed to be doing like a one for like the sports games. So like FIFA, they're gonna do in depth on FIFA and Madden. So like I've been super focused on like some of the shit talking about Madden because some of the stuff they're doing like for the first time in a long time for people like me that play franchise mode, but off like single player franchise mode, they're they're actually like doing stuff with it for the first time in like 6 years. Uh, but like they're kind
Wow.
of like really like we're gonna if you like are really interested in this shit, we're gonna do a separate event for you guys and we'll get that shit out of the way before we get to the A play. So I've got, and they said this one's gonna be about 40 minutes, but I got a little more optimistic about. I'm not expecting like fucking super hype moments or anything like that, but like a little more optimistic about like there might be some stuff out of this that might make us for us hardcores that don't give a shit about. Um, maybe I should say hardcores that don't, but I mean there's a lot of hardcores that do play these games, but like they don't just we don't care about Apex or FIFA or Madden solely, or like we don't come to these events to hear about these. Like we want to hear about other shit. So I mean, Gables, what's kind of like your level of expectations for this thing?
Incredibly low, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I have really no reason to be excited about the event. I know that sounds awfully kind of nihilistic of my approach, but at the same time, it's like this is
Sounds
EA we're
exhausting.
talking about. They normally are known for like very corporate, very like straightforward type of things. Like, okay, this is the thing we're going to be going over, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. But like you were just touching upon, yes, they have been delving into some different forays, and especially into in-depth like developer like interview stuff with like game developers with this and that. But I honestly hope that there will be some new games revealed that would strike as interesting and not more or less like the same old, okay, Madden, FIFA, oh, this is the type of thing you're going to be doing this year. Oh, hey, it's not as good as the last year's, or this and that. It's the same old song and dance. Kind of like continuous cycle of pain or something like that. Long time fans of those franchises often go through. But I'm hopeful, even though my expectations are low for this EA Play sort of event. I hope it's substantial enough for us to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah, me too. Like when we do like E3 and shit like that, when we do like our EA Play podcast, it's always like one of the shorter ones because it's like
Yeah,
there might be one thing of interest to really talk about, and the rest of it's just like, well, here's FIFA, here's Madden. They talk about fucking FIFA and Madden. They talk about Battlefield, whatever, or Battlefront, whatever, or whatever. Like I said, I'm a little like my levels are a little more like I'm like at that like the state of play kind of stuff where like they set expectations, where like
right.
we're like, okay, I'm coming into this like at like a 5, and they hit me like they hit a 5, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, oh fuck yeah, but I'm also like that fucking sucked. You're not like I'm not coming into like with a direct where I'm expecting everything and nothing at the same time. Even when they say don't expect this, I still don't believe you because you, like I said, Nintendo lies constantly about their directs. Um, I mean, I still think they're gonna. I think they'll still talk about FIFA, Madden, Apex, all that. But I don't think it's gonna be as big as they usually do. Like I said, because they're doing all these events before that, so I think it's gonna be like if you got for the hardcore people that really want to know about this, there's this whole extra event. But I think they'll mention it obviously because they'll have more eyes on this than they will
Yeah.
those side things or like I said, the shareholders are gonna be more focused on this. So they'll be mentioned, but I don't think they're gonna focus on it as much as they used to. It's not gonna be taking up 30-40% of the presentation. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't really know what to expect because it's like okay, so we know there's not going to be We know. All right. There's no um, Star Wars. There's no. Oh, sorry, my fucking computer's being weird. Sorry about that. There we go. There's no uh, BioWare. Blah blah. Okay, cool. If there's not really gonna show anything of substantialness, I don't really want to see it anymore until there is of Mass Effect 4 or Dragon Age 4. Um, I don't know. I mean, like, okay, cool. Like, all right, they announced Skate 4 last year, but they literally hadn't even hired people to make the game yet. They just had
No.
like they had like two guys that worked on their previous ones. Like, hey, we're here, we're making it. Cool. See you in 5 years. Um, I fully expect something like that, maybe to like, hey, we're working on this game. I really think they're gonna like. I think we could see some like the next step in the EA original stuff. They usually every year they like to like show off in like a EA original thing. Like It Takes Two was announced last year at EA Play. They do like Fee before that. They did the fucking Unraveled game. Ugh, that was announced the year before that. Don't fucking shrug your shoulders like that, Gables. You look. Do what I do. Whenever I mention Unraveled, look disgusted. Is that your disgusted face? Okay, that's creepy. All right, never mind. Don't. Okay, never mind. That's a weird disgusted face. I don't know what that is. Well, it's all right. Well, I'm sorry I said anything, but fuck that game, and fuck you too, Justin, for liking that game. Uh, it's an old joke for people that probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah. I mean, I think we might see one or two games from that, at least hopefully. Um, and then I'm not super like expecting Dead Space. I almost said Dead Rising, Dead Space in this, because it was about this time last year that the Mass Effect stuff was like really being talked about, and they were hoping to get that out. Like originally that was supposed to be like, oh, we're gonna reveal it in the summer, like we're gonna reveal it during E3, and then obviously this before E3 was canceled, and then have it out in October or November, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Then obviously it didn't happen. Didn't actually get revealed until November 7th on M7 Day, and everybody went in with the expectation that's going to be there. I hope it's there. I mean, I hope to hear something about Dead Space. I think it'd be exciting, and I hope to like not just hear that like they're making because we with rumors we now know they're making it, but like I have
Mm.
like a teaser or something like I don't want the Skate 4 announcement or like hey we're making it. We haven't hired anybody, but we're making it. Like I hope that it's like this is more just me as a fan. Like hope it's farther along than that, and maybe it's coming sooner than we think. But I don't know. I hope to like at least have a teaser for it. I'm not saying gameplay, but just a teaser. Whether and like an idea of like it's a remake. Is it are they remastering the old ones? Is it a
Right.
reboot? What is it? But I'm not like fully 100 expecting 100% like that's for sure going to be there kind of thing. But I don't know. Like you said, like I unplugged my mic. I unplugged my headphones. Give me 2 seconds. God damn it. All right, motherfucker. It's really dark in here. There we go. There we go. Sorry, audio listeners. I got so excited about Dead Space. I unplugged my fucking microphone. But you said like you're like a 5. I'm like a 6, 7. You know, I'm more excited for the Madden thing they're doing this week, just because I want to hear more about what they're doing with franchise mode. But I don't know. I just want to talk about. We don't really ever. It's very rare that we get like a big leeway, a big head, uh, you know, runway on these events outside of like E3.
Yeah.
So usually when they announce it, it's like they announce it on Monday or Tuesday. Hey, on Thursday we're doing this. All right, cool. So it's very rare that we had like they announced this thing like we knew EA Play was happening on July 22nd before we knew the dates of E3. So
Right.
like this has been out there for a while. So yeah. But moving on, we got some quick hitter here, Gables. I want to talk about. It's kind of like a kind of a semi funny, ironic thing here that so the Zelda amiibo that I showed you that I have, and I bought three of them. Three of them. They so all three of the ones I pre-ordered are coming. Gables, you get yours tomorrow. I got mine
Yep.
today, and I got Justin's here. I give him tomorrow. Um, but they announced that a good chunk of them are being delayed a month. So which sucks. Not just. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was just like as a collector thing. I gotta wait a month or so. They said August. I should say a month, but so at least minimum 2 weeks. For this thing before some people are getting their hands on it. But also what really sucks is they put a fucking major quality of life improvement to this game, as in fast tracking, or not fast tracking, but fast traveling rather. Behind the Skyloft or what Loftwing, where that piece of shit is called. He's adorable. I shouldn't call him a piece of shit. But anyways, yeah, they put it behind a paywall. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of ironic. It's like we all bitch about it, and then like, oh, okay, well that sucks. Well, fuck you. We can't make you any anyways. It's already really hard to find, and then we can't actually make them after we already made them really hard to find. I don't know. I mean, what was your thoughts when you heard this news, Gables?
Oh, honestly, I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, this is kind of one of the first that I've heard about in regards to like the delays of these Loftwing amiibos. It's like, well, maybe I have to wait a little bit longer until you chime in. It's like, well, no, actually, you're gonna be getting yours on time. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that sucks
Well,
for late adapters or something like that couldn't, bought theirs a little bit later on. But at the same time, it's like I understand the sentiment where it's like it's not going to be there probably until August, like they were saying and stuff, and locking behind that feature in regards to fast traveling from Skyloft and stuff to wherever you are on the thing, not just like with the bird statues, the Loftwing kind of statues, but like just in general, you know. But yeah, it sucks
yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next quick hitter here. Pokemon Unite, that mobile game that no one wants. Finally have a release date that is coming July 21st to Switch. It's coming to Switch first, and I think it's coming to mobile next month, I want to say.
Okay.
Like I said, that's that Pokemon mobile game that we all like. They like did a whole separate Pokemon event afterwards.
Yep.
After they announced Pokemon Snap 2, they announced this whole separate event, and they announced this motherfucking thing. It's free to play. This is like the third or fourth free to play game I think they put on Switch, and
Yep.
we've had more than that are on mobile. I mean, is there any interest level? You're the Pokemon guy. I've at least tried all the free to play Pokemon games they put out.
I've tried most.
Yeah, there was like I think this is the third one I want to say that's on Switch. There was that weird like top down one that came out last
Oh, the top down
year or 2 years
one.
ago. I don't remember what it's called. It was like free to play, and then they like
Pokemon Cafe? Oh,
no, there's
no.
Pokemon Cafe. That's one I forgot about that one. There was fuck, it's like top down. They look like little Minecraft people. Um,
Oh, God. Pokemon Park or
yeah,
something?
that one I think is what. Yeah, I think you're right. So they've had a few of these and like Pokemon Picross shit like that. So yeah, I was just kind of curious. You're the Pokemon guy. I'll probably download it and check it out for. I've never played a MOBA before, but I got really into the Pokemon Picross years back. But like that was like the
You also
worst.
got a little bit into Pokemon Shuffle as well.
Oh man, don't talk about Shuffle. Fucking goddamn. I love those two games just because I love those games. Are like I buy the. They're like there's like six. There's a Picross games that come out every year for like $10, um, on the Switch, and I buy them every year and I play them like constantly. Not constantly. I get like 5-6 hours I put into them, and I pretty much get close to 100%ing them every fucking year. I love Picross. I love the Shuffle games. I enjoy the Shuffle games quite a bit. And those games were like the worst case scenario of like fucking free to play bullshit.
Yep.
I put money into those fucking things. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not proud of it, but I did it. I didn't put like I'm not a whale when I'm putting 20 grand a day, but like probably $20 over the course of lifetime. But I said it back then. I'm like, if you would have put this game out for $20, just let me buy the fucking thing and just be a normal ass game.
Yeah, really.
What the fuck do you want, Louis? Staring at me. I don't know why. Probably has to go poop. Um, sorry, I don't normally talk to him like that. I'm actually he usually bosses me around. Yeah, like I said, like back then, like if I could just put $20 and have a normal ass game, I would fucking that'd be like a game of the year contender for me. But yeah, I want to try it out because I've never played a MOBA before, but and it's also it's Pokemon. But I imagine the fucking free to play bullshit is supposed to like turn me off immediately. Um, and then Gables, Persona 7.
Hmm.
There are Persona is announced, even though we're just skipping 6. We're going to Persona 7. I'm kidding. So for the 25th anniversary of Persona, they're teasing 7 different announcements. It's going to be taking place. They're going to be doing 7 different teasers for. I'm sorry. So let me kind of just. This is an article from IGN here. I want to just kind of make sure. So this is from IGN. 2021 marks the 25th anniversary of Persona franchise and a milestone for one of the most beloved JRPG franchises around it. It seems like series developer Atlas is teasing some big news to mark the occasion, with 7 announcements teased for the series. Series developer
Damn.
Atlas via Twitter that is preparing reveals to coincide with the anniversary and the 25th anniversary site includes mention of 7 announcements to be made over the course of the next year, with the first happening sometime in September. So it said on Twitter they said celebrate the 25th anniversary this September. Stay tuned for a year of Persona news events and more. That was from the Atlas Twitter account. Several
Hmm.
more announcements will follow over the next year, with the final one scheduled in autumn 2022. Given that the tweet came from both Atlas and Atlas West, whatever gets announced feels likely to find its way over here. Hopefully, that will be without a year-long wait we've had for some titles like Persona 5. And that's something they did announce. They did kind of mention that, not in this, but I shouldn't say announce, but they talked about where they want to make it better where like Persona 5 and Persona 5 Strikers, even like what's the Persona Royal, um,
Yep.
those games came out a year after they came out in Japan. So they're trying to make it so they're trying to make it so those maybe not be day and date as Japan, but be closer together than a year wait. So that's something like I said they were trying to get better about because obviously I mean Persona 4 Golden kind of I think that series really blew up more mainstream. I shouldn't say mainstream, but more in the hardcore hardcore gamers finally started recognizing Persona, and I think Persona 5 really blew up over here more than we ever thought. So like I said, there's gonna be 7 different announcements they plan on doing over the course of the next between basically September and between this September and autumn of next year. Sounds like some of it don't expect like a lot of game announcements, but there's like the rumored there's like a Persona mobile game that's like in the works. Possibly more like Persona 4 Golden was finally put on Steam last year, and actually Persona 4 Golden sold more copies on Steam, which is I think like a 2014 game, sold more copies on Steam than it did on Vita, which should tell
That's
you
not
some.
surprising.
Yeah. So and there's been obviously some people talking about like Persona 5 Royale coming to Game Pass or coming to Switch. People push for that flavor. So possibly like is this gonna this is gonna be all game spin-offs or gaming news? It might be like
Right, right.
ports or might be the mobile game. It might sounds like a decent amount of it might be like merchandise or like buying like like when Pokemon does like their Pokemon events, they announce Pokemon shirts or Pokemon plus 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 plus
Right, right,
plus
right.
shit like that. So maybe expect stuff like that. But like this is gonna be banger after banger. But there are some people like hoping and kind of anticipating that this might lead to Persona 6 being revealed at the end of being the final announcement next year.
Hmm.
I mean, this is a Gables news topic. I mean, what's like your hopes and dreams coming out of this whole thing?
Honestly, my hopes is that this leads up to the revealing of Persona 6, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, that makes it a no-brainer in my honest opinion. Yes, Persona 5 Royal released last year. That was pretty much the best of in regards to a lot of the various improvements and stuff over the original release in 2017. Definitely a fantastic experience in that regards. Even when Persona 5 came out, that was a big hit because that was being like raved as one of the best JRPGs of that generation, which in my honest opinion, yes. Yes, that game definitely was in that regards, the JRPG wise, the best JRPG of that generation. As regard to my thoughts and hopes in that regards. I mean, sure, there's not going to be like just squarely game announcements in that regards, but what I'm hoping of is the first thing that gets like unveiled and stuff is going to be in regards to ports. And more or less I'm thinking of ports to Steam because if say a Persona 3 were to drop onto Steam or Persona 5 Royal dropping on the Steam, that's going to be a huge boost obviously to that game's not only its popularity and stuff, but it makes the most sense. You see how Persona 4 Golden, a squarely Vita only title, mind you, performed not only exceed expectations, but granted it sold like over 1 million in that regards. And yeah, it didn't honestly it didn't surprise me too much. It's because there's a lot more users on there's a lot more user base on PC than there was on PlayStation Vita. I mean, that's a square off fact in that regards.
Yeah.
But what I'm hoping to see is we're going to be seeing ports not only to Steam but potentially onto Switch. Like hell, Persona 5 Scramble is on the Switch, but it does not have a mainline Persona game on Switch.
Joker's
I
in
mean, you
Smash.
Joker's and Smash. You have Persona 5 Scramble, but you do not have a single Persona game in that series on the Switch. I feel like one of the announcements is going to tie into that. And so I feel like the first major announcement is going to be a port, and if I had to choose between the two and stuff like that, we're probably going to get like either a port on Steam, which I would think would be Persona 5 Royal, or or it could be porting of the older Persona games onto Switch. Like for example, I want to say like Persona the original one. I'm thinking perhaps. I know the popular one's Persona 5 Royal, and many Switch players have been wanting to play that game on the go on Switch. But I feel like that if they're going to be making like a big splash in that regards and stuff, it's either going to be a port on Steam, which most likely will be Persona 5 Royal, or it could be something on Switch. In that regards, I could see potentially having like the first few Persona games released on Switch, which yeah, that would be a major like boost in that regards. But my overall feelings in general for all these announcements, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a few that are going to be like, say, special clothing lines or something like that, or specific like merchandise like statuettes, or Atlas does their limited run type of things on their announcements. I mean, that's pretty much what they do, especially with like, say, the games in the series as a whole. But I feel like it's going to lead up to Persona 6. That's going to be their last announcement. Their first announcement is going to be some form of a port, but all the other types of announcements throughout the year is going to be like special type of things. I say special, maybe like special costumes and start of like a specific game or something like that, or maybe it's like going to be like this, like I was just saying before, like specific clothing, specific this or that and stuff. But the concrete thing that I'm thinking, there's going to be a game announcement for the very first one in September. There's going to be then it's going to lead all the way tying into Persona 6 as the last announcement, which I kind of feel is either going to be, and this is going to be something I'm going to be like thinking off the top of my head. I feel like Persona 6 is going to be a sequel to a previous Persona game. Because here's the thing, the beginning, when Persona was a spin-off and stuff of Shimigami Tensei, I mean, that was its own individual thing. But there's actually been sequel games to the Persona series before. Persona 2 Innocent Sin was pretty much like a carryover and stuff, like almost like, yeah, like a sequel to the original Persona. And then Persona 2, in that regards, you had two parts to it. You had Innocent Sin, and then you had Eternal Punishment. Like Innocent Sin we didn't get in the States until the PSP. Like Eternal Punishment we got on the PS1 in that regards. And those two games tie together well in regards to two characters, like two main characters in between both of those games. So I feel like Persona 6, when eventually, if it's revealed at the end of this whole like thing, is going to be like possibly a sequel game in the main line type of like not inside the Persona series, sort of say. So that's pretty much my thoughts around it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Persona guy. I've definitely been more interested in Persona 5 Royal over
Yeah,
the last year or so, especially when it was your game of the year last year. Um, and it's like kind of like Yakuza Like a Dragon, where it's like it's a game I'm looking at, and now it's on Game Pass. I'm like, fuck, that's a game I really want to like. It's down. I've got it downloaded. Like I said, it's just like there's newer stuff. There's new games coming out that I want to play before I jump back and play some of these older games that I want to get out of the way. But yeah,
Persona 5 is that exception to the rule for
yeah,
RPGs.
yeah. Like I'm not a JRPG guy, but like Final Fantasy VII Remake was very much the exception to the rule for me on that. Like we talked about before, Gables. When I was a kid and like a teenager and shit, like those were my games. That's all I
Yeah.
played was JRPGs. It was football games
Yep.
and JRPGs. That was all I played. Um, and Wind Waker. So yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of cool. I love the fact they're kind of setting this up. As a thing, I think it's like, yeah, I definitely think they want to make something. I think the first announcement, it doesn't have to be like Persona 6 level. I think it would make sense to make that Persona 6 being a fall like 2022. And something I was kind of like, this is something I was kind of, I mean, I'm not interested in the Persona series whatsoever. I don't see myself. Excuse me, I'm very burpy here. That fucking goddamn Leinenkugel. Um, but I don't see myself like jumping in and becoming a fan of the Persona games really whatsoever.
Right.
But I was kind of interested in like what's going on with this and like what does this mean for people? Kind of like we had the Platinum Force shit last year, that kind of led to an April Fool's joke, and not Bayonetta 3 whatsoever. The only thing we cared about coming from them, uh, unless it was Nier Automata 2, which obviously is never happening. But anyways, uh, yeah, I was kind of like, what are people saying about? What are Persona fans saying about this? And it's like, I thought it was kind of very interesting, about yeah, it would make sense. Like the first one, the first announcement they do, be something like whether it's a port or be like we're bringing something back or whatever. Like this is like Persona 6. Like this is gonna be something like I said, maybe we're finally getting Golden on the Switch or Persona 5 on the Switch or Persona 5 finally comes to Xbox Game Pass. That's people have been wanting
Mm,
forever. Kind of been somewhat rumored for a while. I don't know if it's a rumor or it's like one of those things. Like the problem is sometimes you hear about like these things. It's like you kind of lose. Like, is this a rumor or is this someone people are talking about this that they're just wanting it to happen? That it's kind of like turned into
yeah.
a rumor. Like you kind of lose that some of these things. But I think it'd be awesome. It'd be kind of weird to see like for some reason Atlas has this weird love affair with PlayStation where they only put mainline games on PlayStation consoles, which doesn't really make
Yes, they
sense to
do.
me. When like we talked about like I just mentioned like Persona 4 Golden sold more in the first few months on Steam than it did on Vita. Um, and now we have the fucking Steam Deck, or people that people can finally play Persona 4. They could play it on another handheld that more people will probably own in the next couple of years, and a lot of people probably more people own Persona 4 on a Steam than they do on a Vita. So boom, here
Yeah,
we
they
go,
do.
and it's way fucking cheaper to buy Persona 4 Golden on Steam than it is to buy a fucking brick and mortar copy of Persona 4 Golden. Um,
That's very true too.
yeah, and like some people were mentioning, like I think Persona 5 was like when it was revealed, like what they do, like they love to do was like they do a tease, and they show you the color of the game.
Yeah.
That's something like people were like the rumor. I think they said the people are like a lot of people are talking about it's gonna be red this time. I think, which
It was red last time for
was
like
it,
Persona 5 and stuff. Yes, there was actually a
oh
chairs. There was school chairs and stuff, and you have a like a chain and ball and stuff like
okay
that on one of the chairs, and it was
okay
red.
maybe I'm mixing it up then because like they were
Because
saying
here's the thing:
they were
Persona
talking about
3
the
was blue, and then Persona
okay
4 was yellow, and then like Persona 5 was red.
okay maybe that's why I
So
mixed up the colors then. I'm sorry.
maybe a
Uh,
green.
yeah, maybe it was green. I don't know. People were mentioning colors, and I probably got all mixed up. But though I see a lot of people like commonly have Persona 6. A lot of people are saying it's probably it might be this color, and I got maybe it was green they were saying instead. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of colors got mixed up in my head there. I don't know. I think it's just kind of a cool, exciting thing where like I love like like I said, Persona is not my I'm not a like in my wheelhouse, but I just love it when they do cool shit when publishers do cool shit like this. And I just hope it's just like one of those things where you scratch your head where it's like it's that weird Nintendo decision kind of thing where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it this way? And it's like fucking just put the goddamn thing out on other consoles. And that's all I want to see. I just want to see people. I want to see Persona fans happy, and I want to see people like because they just want more people to play their fucking shit
No
and
shit.
not to be on a PlayStation console. And obviously, I think if this thing came to Game Pass, that thing will fucking blow up on Game Pass. I think
Yep.
it'd be bigger. I would argue, look, Yakuza, as great as it's sold and as big as it's been on PlayStation consoles forever, it's probably bigger now, being an Xbox Series launch title and being on all the games are on Game Pass than it's ever been before.
No
So
shit.
yeah, I mean that game's been around for those games have been around for 15 plus years. Yeah, I move on to our last uh, quick hitter. Cables. I pulled the wrong app. So you put this in here. I'm kind of like I've heard of this game before. I know about this game. I've seen some like little videos about this game, but they had the
Right.
Mario 3 PC port was actually recovered. Um, so I want you to tell me more
Yes,
about
yes.
this.
So this comes by way of an article that I was reading like throughout the week called The Gamer, right? And so basically, to give people a little bit of the backstory, id Software, they're known for Wolfenstein, known for Doom and stuff. Now, they're creators of that company and the creators of those games, they were a small time company at one time, and they were wanting to get into the gaming business. And so what they did is they made They ported Super Mario Bros. 3, that NES game, onto PC, and they pitched this port to Nintendo because they pitched them with the idea that they wanted to make the PC port to Super Mario Bros. 3. Of course, Nintendo, seeing the quality of what they did in that regards, they turned it down in that regards. But in that retrospect, it led them to create games of their own and their own original concepts. And so that's how they came up with creating games like Wolfenstein 3D and Doom that revolutionized first person shooters in that regards. But I thought that was a little bit of a fun backstory.
Mm.
So what goes into this is something that happened this past week and stuff where you know, with this PC port of Super Mario Bros. 3 that John Carmack helped co-develop and stuff like that. It's basically what it basically was and stuff. This museum of play and stuff, digital games correlated, like Andrew Bowman said. It's like when looking at PC games of the era, there really weren't titles with the smooth scrolling seen in Nintendo hits and stuff like say Mario 3. But yes, they managed to go through and recover the work of say John Carmack and stuff like that for this Mario 3 PC port, and now it's pretty much now recorded through history inside a museum of hey, this is the game that the precursor that led to the creation of Wolfenstein 3D and Doom in that regards. It's that this thing with John Romero and with Carmack and stuff like that. So I'm just going through and reading a little bits
I'm reading the
of this
article right now
thing,
too. Yeah, I think it
and
was like
it's
kind of an interesting start off there was like
yeah,
they talk about and this is something that's been talked about before. I think there was no clip on YouTube. It's Danny Dwyer, who's formerly of GameSpot. He works with Giant Bomb now, of course, but done some really great documentaries on video games. Like he did a big deep dive on Rocket League and Bethesda and especially the Doom series even. But this is and he even did a whole interview with John Romero. But I believe came from his interview. He talked about this is where I first heard about it was that Mario 3 port, but they ended up turning it into Commander Keen, which is
yeah,
their first big game they did. But go on.
right. Right. And what's interesting is how this museum actually acquired it is an individual donated this game and it was a game developer of that. Yeah, it was a game developer that donated this game. And honestly, what's kind of interesting, it obviously wasn't something they expected, the Museum of Play, but yet all we've had for the past 5 or 6 years in that regards was what John Romero showed to us from 2015
Yeah.
in that regards, which is a basic thing. And now it's for the world to see, now this Museum of Play has this entire PC port that these guys did way back when and stuff in the early 90s that helped structuralize not only them making their own games like Commander Keen, Wolfenstein, Doom in that regards, but just seeing how these kind of visionaries at their time were able to take basically this game that to try to make it for the PC, the personal computer and stuff, how that swiftly evolved into creating something entirely new and different that has influenced the gaming industry now for the past 30 years, essentially. And yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a fun blurb and stuff because it's a lot of you guys that are either watching us on Twitch or just listening to us, it's yes, gaming back inside the late 80s, early 90s and stuff. Yeah, that was a totally different time than it is right now in 2021 and stuff, to where a lot of these things, a lot of these genres, a lot of these classic franchises, they weren't even established yet. We coming off the crux of the NES era and stuff like that onto the Super Nintendo and this and that. PC gaming was entirely different back then too. And the thing was, it wasn't as ease of use and stuff. And a lot of these precursors to what games we would be playing now, let's say a Call of Duty or a Fortnite or whatsoever, they all started from most of those game genres started because of the experimentation of Carmack and Romero and stuff with those previous games and stuff that they created and stuff. And what's kind of hilarious, it's another point in history that Nintendo did not turn down something that eventually actually led to like another spark of creativity and stuff.
Yeah.
Because one of the more, it, just to give just a little blurb, that's an example of Nintendo turning down like Sony to go with Philips CDI and stuff for their add-on for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So the Nintendo PlayStation never happened.
The Nintendo PlayStation never happened, but it definitely was a thing. And for those that are listening in, you can search and find a Nintendo PlayStation.
People own it.
Yes, people do own it.
Yeah.
And that's what I pretty much wanted to
Yeah. It's
touch
it's
upon.
just funny to think like that alternate reality where like Nintendo games are on like the only way to play the best place to play Nintendo games is legally is on a Steam Deck now because Nintendo games have always been on PC. You know when they
Yep.
said yes, it's like Nintendo games just came to PC and then like, but also Doom and Wolfenstein were never created. It's like what a world that could have been, where like
Oh yeah.
its software is like it's still around, but it's just a porting house rather than you know making two of the biggest, not only like making the first person shooter ever, but also creating two of the biggest franchises in gaming right now. Well, especially in Doom's case, but even
Yes.
Wolfenstein is being revitalized by Machine Games. But yeah, I mean that was really cool. It was interesting. I didn't realize the game was lost to the world. I've seen the gameplay, but it's just interesting to see that. But I do the last little quick thing actually. Gables, a lot of delays happened this week. A lot
Yes,
of
they did.
for anybody that gives a shit, which is like three people, Resident Evil Reverse was delayed to 2022. It was supposed to come out day and date on Resident Evil 8. It's that multiplayer game that
Wow, I didn't
was
know that.
supposed to be on Resident Evil 8. It's supposed to come out the day one, so May 7th, my birthday. Not that that day is important, whatever. So, but yeah. So it was initially got delayed to July, and then they announced that it's actually delayed to 2022. So if that game was already gonna fucking die on May 8th, this game is definitely not gonna fucking matter when this thing comes out. Or I should say that game, but that mode. No one's gonna give a shit. No one gave a shit about Resident Evil 3's multiplayer mode when it came out day and date.
No, not
No
really.
one's gonna give a shit about this game when it comes out next year. Besides three people, that game's gonna launch and there's not gonna be enough people to make a fucking game. That's like I think that's
No.
what's gonna happen. Tokyo Ghostwire officially got delayed. It's one of those. It's kind of like the God of War Ragnarok delay that happened that was announced a couple months ago. It's like we knew this game was getting delayed to 2022 when you
Yep.
announced the game was coming in 2021. No one believed you. Um, and we especially didn't believe that Ghostwire Tokyo was coming out this year after Deathloop got delayed from a launch game for PS5 to May to September. So it's like we already knew
Yep.
this game wasn't gonna supposed to be originally October, but now it's 2022. Rainbow Six Extraction, which should have a release date, I think it was September 16th. They just gave a release date a month ago at E3.
They did.
Kind of like that Last of Us 2 Part 2 thing, where they gave a date and then the very next week they delayed it like 3 months.
Oh,
Kind of the same thing here, for where they delayed it to 2022. That was supposed to be a 2020 game. Obviously, that was pre-COVID. It was also supposed to be called
honestly,
quarantine. But what? Go ahead.
honestly, I think that's a good thing, considering that the footage they did show at their Ubisoft Forward and stuff, it did not look like it was finished at all. It looked like it was kind of generic in that
Yeah,
regard.
but I mean, Rainbow Six Siege came out dead, and that game's still fucking going. So
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's the one best thing you can say about Ubisoft is they don't give up on their games very quickly. Yeah, more time whatsoever. That's fine. And also because we were talking about with the Ubisoft shit, they have a lot of games coming out this fall, and like they're like we literally have like a 3 week or a 5 week stretch where there was three big games coming from them. Far Cry 6 being the one in early October, and then it was 2 weeks before on September 2nd, 2 weeks before Extraction. We were supposed to get
Yeah.
Riders Republic. That now is being delayed to October 28th. So so what, like about 6 7 weeks? Or no, it's about just under two
So they
months.
don't want to cannibalize all their games.
Yeah, I think it's also. I mean, it's only 3 weeks. I think 2 3 weeks after Far Cry 6. But I mean, they're totally different games, so it's not. We're not talking about two shooters and shit coming out at the same time frame. Which do you think they would learn after putting out? I think 3 games in 5 months or 5 weeks last year, where we got Watch Dogs Legion, Valhalla, and Immortal Phoenix Rising, all came out within like 5 6 weeks of each other last fall,
Yeah,
and we basically saw Legion sold well, but not great. But then also Immortal Phoenix Rising kind of just it didn't help. It came out in December, but kind of just came out and no
true.
one gave a shit.
With 2 out of the 3 actually being decent.
It seems
I
like
said decent, but
yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I'd argue 3 out of 3, but whatever. Um, yeah. So I mean, it's like I don't know. Obviously, take your time. My feelings are, um, pandemic. Miyamoto's quote about delayed games. That's my opinion on that. What about you, Gables?
I'm the same mind as stuff. It's like they're delayed for a reason, and quite honestly, I don't mind delays with these games.
No, I mean it's sometimes it's disappointing to hear delays, but it's like yeah, as a fan you're disappointed because you want those things now. I mean, which everybody gets, but it's
But
also
then
it's just,
again, we're in a post Cyberpunk 2077 world where it's like,
that's the other
yeah, you
point.
know
Yeah,
what? Delay
yeah.
it.
There's like the three generic comments: Cyberpunk, pandemic, Miyamoto's quote about delayed games. Bam. That's kind of like what we go back to. Like I said, I mean like, and these aren't like these what 1, 2, 4 games talked about. These are not like big huge hitters. So it's like if this was Halo Infinite, be a big much different story. But yeah, I don't know, whatever. I mean, delays, whatever. Who gives a shit? Some people do obviously, but I mean, whatever. Anyways, moving on, Gables, to the what we've been playing part of the podcast. I haven't played anything. I just been watching Cobra Kai. That's um, all of that really has
Oh,
mattered
that's
to me
fair.
the last week. All I gotta say is don't be a pussy. Strike first, no mercy. That's all I have to say. Crane kick. What about you, Gables? What
Oh,
have you been
all
actually
right.
playing shit this week?
Yes, I have been actually playing shit this week, and more than Destiny 2, mind
Well,
you.
Gables, you're doing it
So,
wrong. Watch Cobra Kai. It's way better than anything you've been playing. I promise.
all right. So to start things off, yes, I did buy 2 games this past
Okay.
week.
Gables,
But
you
before I get
said
in,
yes and you paused. And I thought yes. I've also been watching Cobra Kai. I'm like, we are changing the podcast. We're talking about Cobra Kai. I got all excited and you broke my heart. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
all right. So like I was saying, yes, I did buy 2 games this past week. But before I get into that, I'm going to be saying that hey, I've been on sort of a little kick as of late to where I've been wanting to play games with a little bit more substantial difficulty. And when I mean substantial difficulty is like I'm in the mood where I want to try to play some harder games because I kind of feel like I want to earn a bit more of my gameplay stuff. And so what I mean by that is I've been going through a bunch of my backlog in terms of games that I want to play, and in regards to one particular game, there's been this one game that I've wanted to beat without having to use save states, and that is Ninja Gaiden. Now, Ninja Gaiden for the NES, that's a game that I have been playing over the years. I did beat, but with regards to save states on the 3DS. But what I'm happy to report is I'm almost there in that regards. So what basically I've been doing is I've been treating it like how I would when I'm playing it on the NES. Like I get to a certain extent, if I don't want to continue on, I just go through, turn off the game, and then restart it all over again to that specific point. The game in and of itself, you can blaze through in like around maybe 15, 20 minutes if you know what you're doing. But in regards to the difficulty of the game and recognizing what you need to do, yes, it can be daunting in regards to figuring out, okay, how am I going to progress through this stage if I'm being bombarded by 2 or 3 different types of birds or something while trying to juggle, like have these freaking ninjas flying overhead, just like tossing these shurikens and stuff, just hitting you exactly at that right spot and stuff to where your model, your sprite just does a knockback over a freaking pit. Those type of moments and stuff will occur. But I've made it so far to 6-2. I have gotten continuous game overs and stuff like that. I mean, I don't care if I die in those damn games. I mean, I know that I don't have a specific amount of continues to where I can,
If you die in the
you know.
game, you die in real life.
But yeah, the thing about Ninja Gaiden is like even if you do lose all 3 of your lives and stuff, you'll start back at the stage that you initially were starting on. So it's like it's not going to be that much of a progression loss. But there is a specific amount of lives you can lose until it's like entire game over and you have to restart back from the start. The only way I found that out is when I played this game on the Wii originally. I tried doing the same thing. I didn't get past like I didn't really get past like a stage like 5-2, I think 5-3 or something like that.
And you call yourself a gamer?
But But I lost so many lives that it literally kicked me back all the way to stage one, and I'm like, oh, come on. But no, I've been progressing a little bit further, and I'm going to be keeping on playing this game off and on and stuff on the NES app on my Switch. I've actually getting a little bit better of doing that specific like slash canceling glitch where it's like you where you basically tap the down button on the D-pad and the D and the B button at the same time. You have to do it like very like you have to do it very fast and stuff while you're jumping. And so how I'm doing that, it's like I've just been testing out a bunch of different shit. But going from Ninja Gaiden to one of the games I did purchase, and that was Demon Souls for the PlayStation 5. The game had a price cut at my local Walmart, so I got it for about $50.
Nice.
And I wanted to go forth and try it out because, for one, I have played some of Demon Souls on the PS3. This one, yes, it does look better. That's given. And I'm actually kind of surprised how much I still knew and still had learned inside of the initial time I did play Demon Souls. Like I know how to parry attacks. I know how to go through and like take little things individual one at a time. But I need to delve a little bit more into the game in and of itself in order to try to understand more of its mechanics and how to level up in that regards. Because like how someone would be at the game when they're starting out, I died at the first boss and stuff, which will go through that whole rigmarole and stuff of you like going to this one like sanctuary type of place and stuff where you have to like talk to a bunch of different NPCs and stuff to gain like certain like items or certain abilities or something like that. And you know what? It's like the game in of itself, it plays fine. It looks fantastic. I mean, for God's sakes, the PlayStation 5 running this game is just it's fucking beautiful. No like rampant like frame rate drops or something like that. It's structurally fine. I need to just to invest a lot more in terms of how I want to play this game because I know I'm still a bit rusty with the whole 3D like Souls type of like game mechanics and stuff, but I want to delve more into it at some point. But my pure focus right now is playing Skyward Sword HD remaster on the Switch. Now, I went with the buttons control. As Tyler, for those listening in wherever you are, and stuff is holding up his amiibo and stuff with the Loftwing and the Zelda and all this other stuff. I will say I'm not using a lot of the motion control stuff for the Skyward HD remaster and put that damn thing down.
Sorry for people audio listeners. I have my penis on the screen.
No, you. Oh god. Anyway, so when it came to the my initial play thing and stuff, I just went with the default settings, and the default settings really is like button controls. So the only gyroscope thing I have is when it comes to aiming in regards to some things like bow and arrows and like slingshots and whatsoever. I may turn it off if I feel like it, but how it is going through with this gameplay so far, it's like I'm actually getting rather invested, not just like inside the story, inside the beginning parts of the story again and stuff, but also in terms of how much more easier it is for me to like go through with the control and the gameplay. Like the right analog stick has to do with certain like slashes and stuff. It's sort of like a Metal Gear Rising Revengeance sort of thing, where it's like the different slashes are like the different types of like directions on the right stick and this and that. I can't do crazy combos and stuff like in the other game, but at the same time, it's like
How
when
many
you come across
slashes are you doing in the air like Ninja Gaiden? That's all I know. Like I want you to get 9 slashes midair
oh
in
Jesus
Skyward Sword.
Christ. Could you just imagine just Link just doing like about just 9 to 10 like just slash canceling and stuff.
I want you to do like so before we were recording. Gable sent me we watched this. People like speed running and shit like that with Ninja Gaiden, and they were holding like the NES controller like sideways, and like fucking it was crazy how people were playing this fucking thing. Try to do no damage runs and like quickly like hit the button. And Gables, I want you to hold your Switch when you're playing handheld the same way and fucking play the game like that.
Well, I got to be able to see if I'm doing it handheld wise.
Gables. Remember what I said about Cobra Kai? Don't be a pussy. All right? Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, and then finish him.
I could
That
just see myself. I could just see me streaming myself trying to play my Switch and stuff with my leg over my lap or something like that. Like
that was crazy. There was
that
one
would be
guy,
like,
literally, yeah. For audio listeners, we apologize. Gables once again he is very flexible. Like so, the guy like was literally cross-legged, but like imagine like dribbling the ball between your legs. You're playing basketball, but like had like the fucking controller between his legs, like cross-legged. Fucking, I'm gonna have to stand up for this shit. I'm not, I'm wearing. I got shorty shorts on. I'm playing. I got like. All right, I'm bringing it up here. I got like 1980s like basketball shorts on, so apologize if you see some
God.
weird shit here. Look at that. Look at that. Bam. So the guy was like cross-legged here. All right, bam, sitting, and he had the fucking controller between his legs, just fucking playing Ninja Gaiden and kicking ass, speed running like crazy. Gables, I can't beat normal games on normal with it in my hand in front of me looking at a fucking 75-inch screen TV. This motherfucker's playing on a 24-inch CR TV. Ninja Gaiden, one of the hardest games of all time. I don't know why I'm still standing. I kicked my chair way over here, so bear with me. And he fucking did all that shit. He's playing this motherfucking game, NES game, super hard as motherfucker, no save states, cross-legged, goddamn dribbling the NES controller between his fucking legs. Wildest fucking thing I've ever seen. Blew my goddamn mind. Gables, I'm sorry. Go on. What's going on with Skyward Sword?
All right, Skyward Sword, the game.
That was
The
a
game
tangent. I
obviously.
apologize.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, hell, we all go into a little bit of the tangents and stuff. But yeah, I have been enjoying Skyward Sword a bit this time around as opposed to when I first played it on the Wii. The controls, I actually feel like I'm more comfortable having the button controls, and right now with just the analog stuff from the Wii, I do like how invested I'm getting inside the story stuff. I feel like controlling the loft wing in regards to transversing Skyloft and stuff feels a bit easier. And also, it's like it's kind of like almost inverted in terms of like how you control the loft wing and stuff, to where up is down, down is up.
So
Stuff
you,
is
if you were playing it cross-legged, you want the right leg over the left leg instead. Is that what I'm getting out of this?
yeah, you probably have to go and just like kneel backwards too while you're at it. You just imagine just do the right, just do the cross leg technology at the bend of your back at a certain angle. Okay, I need to get this up. But yeah, the combat's pretty fluid, honestly, and I like the aspect of encountering the different enemies and stuff where they actually show you which way you're gonna have to hit the control stick in order to like attack them, like the moblins switching their swords and stuff. So if they're holding it like a specific way, like say left or right or something like that, you basically do that on the right like analog stick, and it'll just go and slash in a specific way. Or you'll recognize the visual cues of a Deku Baba and stuff. Like if it has like the opening was like a horizontal, you do a horizontal slash, or vertically a vertical slash. But then you get confused when you have like one Deku Baba that just can do both in that regards, and it just opens like say vertically at first, and then just stops, and then just horizontally at the next. It's like what the fuck. But I'm nearing the first temple of the game. I I'm glad I'm nearing the first temple of
So
the
you're
game
19
and
hours
stuff.
in. Got it.
No, I'm actually about 3 hours in. I'm about 3 hours in. It takes a little bit to get introduced into this game. Let's just say that it's it's like a standard kind of like okay, hero coming of tale story, and it's obviously that because it's the Legend of Zelda. I mean, hell, but yeah, the cinematics were fine. Everything else was good. I mean, the game, yeah, it's an HD remaster and stuff. Of course, it's going to be looking sort of dated in some retrospects, you know. But at the same time, it's still pretty fun to play. I mean, it definitely feels more fun to play now than it was back then. I mean, I only spent like maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours playing the Wii one initially, so I'm already spent more time playing this game than I did on the Wii.
There you go. There you go.
But I haven't tried any of the motion controls yet. I may do that just to see how they actually react. But I've heard mixed things about it too, in regards to like the whole motion control stuff with this version as opposed to the Wii one. But at the same time, I'm more or less focused upon I wanted to enjoy this game for what it is. One of the caveats of me getting burnt out of the Wii during that generation and stuff is not finishing Skyward Sword. And I want to finish Skyward Sword because I want to see how the game lasts in terms of not only the improvements that it had over the original game, but whether or not I will enjoy this game in
Yeah.
general.
I'm
So
excited
that's
for you.
it.
I'm excited
Yeah,
for you,
thank you.
Gables. Yeah. Yeah. It's a game like I've always wanted to jump into, but I don't think I would probably enjoy based off everything I'm hearing from people talking about it. But it's at the blank spot for me in the Zelda world. But I hope you enjoy it. I hope you love it. I make you be happy. But Gables, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you're watching us live, twitch.tv/DrunkNerds podcast, please not like, but follow us. Click the bell. That way you know when we go live. We usually record Saturday nights around 8 p.m. Pacific time, West Coast time. But other than that, if you can't watch us live, the YouTube, I'll put the VOD immediately over on our YouTube channel, Drunk Nerds. So look for us on there. Like, follow, subscribe, click the bell once again. If you are an audio listener, thank you guys so much for listening. But also, like, follow, subscribe, 5 stars, review, comment, share with your friends. Basically, anywhere, if a pod is cast there, I probably got a step to be on there. And if we're missing something, let us know, and I'll see what I can do about getting us on those places. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I was host. I was Tyler.
And I have been Colonel Gables. Until next time, everyone, have yourself a fun time, play some fun games. But most importantly of all that, thank you for listening to another fun-filled episode of the Drunk-Nerds podcast.
Hey, Gables.
Yep.
Too sweet.
Too sweet, man.
Bye, guys.
See ya.